Hi there, this is Rob at reason101.net, and I am here to show you another Kong tutorial. This isn't so much a tutorial as it's a bit of an explanation on how the Nurse Rex loop player hit types work. And it came out of some stuff that I saw in one of Ed's master classes on Kong, and I think everybody was getting just a little confused on the different hit types and how they operate. So I wanted to kind of cover that in this tutorial. So what I'm going to do, as you see, I loaded up a Kong and then loaded a Nurse Rex, and I'm going to browse for a loop. Okay, I'm just going to take something very random. Um, and let's see, let's bring this down. Okay, so if we just hit the loop, what it's on right now, this is your hit type. Okay, so we have drum 1 selected, the pad selected here, and the pad hit type is on the loop trig. Now loop trig, what this does is it'll play the loop from the beginning to the very end when you press it. Okay, it plays it through once, then it stops. That's the normal way that it works. What you can do with loop trig is you can use these markers to head it off at the pass and to just play a section of it if you so choose. Right now I'm going to play just these 3 slices using this. And that's all it does. You can move them out. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. The other thing that you can do with these hit types, I'll just go through them. The chunk trig, of course, is not that exciting when you see it just on one pad, because right now this whole loop is one big chunk. But where it comes in handy is if you assign 2 pads to the one Rex loop. So you're assigning both of these pads, pad 1 and pad 2, to the first drum 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change both hit types for pad 1 and pad 2 to chunk trig. And what this does is it breaks up the Rex into 2 chunks. So when it comes to playing it, you can play chunk 1 with the first pad, chunk 2 with the second pad, and it breaks it up evenly. So if you also have, let's say we have 3 and 4 are assigned to the same Rex loop here, and they're all assigned to chunk trig, then you've got 4 pads that are assigned equally and evenly across all 4 pads. You've got the one Rex loop that's assigned to the 4 different pads. You can also change and move the pad designation back and forth. Okay. The only problem is, you'll notice when you do this, is that you can't choose anything that's non-contiguous. That means that the pads will be evenly distributed, or the Rex loop is evenly divided, and you cannot move and have pad 1 just have these 3 slices and then have pad 2 have these 3 slices over here. It has to be the whole Rex loop divided among whatever you assign it. So that brings us to our third hit type, which, when we go back here, let me just turn all the chunk trigs off and get everything back to normal again. Okay. Okay, so let's take the third hit type. Now the third one is a slice trig, which, as you've guessed, it triggers one slice in the Rex. So I have, right now, slice number 1 is being triggered by pad 1. And that's all you're going to hear. And what makes this assignment work is this trig selection down here. If you turn it off, nothing is triggered. Okay? If I select this slice, it's still not triggered. What you have to do in order to use slice trig is you have to assign a trigger. Okay? You have to assign a slice to be triggered by pad 1. Okay? Easy enough. So trigger that slice. Okay. Now the other problem comes in the fact that you can select multiple slices to be triggered. However, one would think that right now I've got this slice, and this slice triggered. One would think that it would go through these slices when you press down. What it does is it acts as an alternate group or an alt group. So even though these three slices are triggered, okay, it's going to select randomly between those three slices when you press down on this pad. Okay, so it acts as an alt group between those. So just keep that in mind that in order to use the slice trig option to begin with, something has to be triggered, and by default, the first slice is always triggered. Okay, this is the normal state of affairs when you have it on triggering. I'll just get this done up. This is the normal state of affairs. The first slice is always triggered. Okay, you can turn it off and you can select a totally different slice to be triggered like this, no problem. Okay, so that's the way that that works. Let's just get things back to default. Okay. Now, the other one, the final one is the stop trigger, or the stop hit type. And stop is usually used in conjunction. So let's say you have the first pad that's assigned to the loop trigger, which is going to play the whole loop through, the whole Rex file through from start to finish. And then we will assign the second pad we will assign the second pad to the same Rex file, and we're going to use the stop hit type for the second pad. So what this does is the first pad will start the loop and the second pad will stop it at any point in time. So we can start it and stop it. Start, stop, and stop. Okay, that's the way you would use stop. And there may be other methods or other reasons why you'd want to use the stop type, but for me that seems like a pretty clear-cut way to use it. You tie up two pads to the same Rex loop. The first one triggers the loop, the second one stops it. So that's a tour through the different hit types for the nurse Rex and for your Rex files. I hope that helps you out, and I hope that clears up some of the confusion over the different hit types and what you can do with them. Again, this is Rob at reason101.net, and thanks a lot for listening.